Hello there everybody and welcome back to Sunshine Islands. It is now the day of our cooking festival, summer day 13. I've already gone ahead and I've done all of my chores, and so we want to get our butts over to the meadow in time to get the theme of our cooking festival today, and then subsequently we need to come back to our house, cook a dish, and then submit it to Pierre. So we didn't actually take part in this festival in our first year because we did not have a kitchen, so we missed out, but this year we should be able to enter. Now, I don't think we're going to win, unfortunately, because I still have limited recipes and a limited amount of space in my fridge, and I'm missing some fruits and vegetables and things like that, but I think that we can, at the very least, enter something and see what happens. And the unique thing about the cooking festival is that we actually come here twice. So this first time here, everybody's just sort of gathered around. They're all excited and anticipating what it is that we're going to need to cook for today's festival. And then once we talk to Pierre, we'll be able to go home. Now, this is a fantastic opportunity to fish because you're going to have unlimited amounts of time to fish during this first visit to Meadow Island. So you can fish your heart out and catch a bunch of stuff, and then once you sense that your stamina is getting low, you can say, okay, I'm going to talk to Pierre, speak to him. You're going to go back to your house and cook your dish for the cooking festival, and since you're cooking anyways, you can go ahead and whip yourself something up to restore some stamina, come back to the festival a second time and do more fishing. So I'm not particularly worried about fishing right now in the recording because I actually have a separate save state where I'm taking all the time in the world that I need to do as much fishing as humanly possible, basically. So I'm going to be catching a whole boatload of fish off screen to help me out, and you guys don't have to watch me do all that boring stuff, but I'm definitely taking advantage of that because that's a really, really good idea, I think, and it would be even better if I had lined it up so that the fishing harvest sprites were here to give me a hand. So I had a little bit of luck today, just in the few little bits of fishing that I did. I now have 12 in my inventory, which is not too bad. I've talked to everybody, so let's speak to Pierre, and he'll tell us the theme. Each contestant cooks a dish based on the theme and then brings it back here. This year's theme is soup. Soup and drinks. So be sure to bring your entry before 6 p.m. tonight. So after that, we're going to come back to the house, and we now have a few hours to do our cooking. So this would be the opportunity where if you had a really low stamina bar from fishing, you would cook your meal for the cooking festival, and then you could also whip up some stuff to help you get some more stamina. So if we look at our dishes here, I'm pretty sure that the cooking festival goes in the order that the recipes are listed in our cookbook here. So our first year was salads. This year we have soup and drinks on the menu. Next year most likely is going to be appetizers followed by main course dishes, and then finally in year 5 he'll probably make us make a dessert, and then he'll rotate back to salads for year 6. So as you can see in our soup/drink menu, we have a couple of different options. We have some soups here, we have some juices, but for the most part, it's pretty empty. And when I looked at what recipes I was missing in this category, a whole ton of them depend on the fruits that we're going to be getting from our fruit trees. So there's a lot of recipes here that require us to have grapes and bananas and peaches and apples and all of those things that we do not have. All things considered, with the resources that I have right now, what I have available in this soup and drink menu is actually not too shabby. So what I decided ultimately was I was gonna go with a simple vegetable juice because the base recipe only requires one ingredient, which is a turnip. But in order to win the cooking festival, the dish has to have a high stamina recovery rate. Pierre judges the cooking festival based upon how much stamina a dish recovers. So if you're cooking a dish that has 4 or 5 different ingredients and they're all really rare and it's a very expensive dish, but it doesn't actually restore a lot of stamina, you're better off cooking a simple dish that you can add a bunch of stuff into to make it that much better. So what I've done is I actually already have a vegetable juice made up. You can see it here in my inventory. But what's interesting is that I can add this vegetable juice to another vegetable juice to hopefully boost its stamina recovery. And what I'd recommend for cooking is I would just bring up a list, go on the internet, bring up a list of all the recipes where it will show you all of the alterations that you can make. So for example, if we go into the other category, what we can do is we can make some jam. And if we make jam, for some weird reason, we can add jam to our vegetable juice, just to make it recover that much more stamina and hopefully give us a bit of an edge for winning the cooking contest. Now again, because this is such a simple dish, I don't think it's gonna do the trick. But you can play around with this and you can have a lot of fun. So now we have 3 different things to add to our vegetable juice. So when you go to make the recipe, you can make the basic recipe, you can make it with one ingredient the way that it is and enter it and see how you do. But this is where the alterations shine. This is where you're gonna go in and you're gonna add things to your dish to make it better, and you're gonna just see what combinations of items work really, really well. So in my case, we can add in our vegetable juice that we already made. We can add in both of the jams that I made. And then if we go into our fridge, I have a couple of other options that I can add to this as well. So I can add turnips, I can add corn, onions, pumpkins, all sorts of stuff. So, I mean, it sounds really gross, but we can put an onion in there just to add something else. And unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of the other things that would make this dish even better. And you can only really add one of each item, so I can't put in 2 onions, for example. So if we go with this, so let's say we add these 4 different ingredients and then we choose to make the dish. You can see on the top that the game is telling us that yes, this combination of items that we have picked is appropriate and it will turn out as vegetable juice, which is fantastic. If you want to play around with it a little bit, say you say to yourself, well, I have one more slot. What if I add a potato? What happens then? You can see now that adding a potato is not compatible for this dish and it will actually cause us to fail in making the dish. Most likely you're gonna have to just do trial and error and sort of play around with it and see what works, because it's a little bit confusing, right? I can add some vegetables, I can add onions in, I can add in cabbage, tomatoes, these types of things, but for some reason I can't add in carrots and I can't add in potatoes. So I think that's about as good as our dish is going to get. I don't think I actually have anything else right now that I could add. So let's go ahead and make this. after you have created your recipe, what you can do is you can overwrite it if you want. And basically what that means is when you go to make a vegetable juice, rather than showing you just a turnip, it will now show you creating the recipe using a turnip, the vegetable juice, the 2 jams, and an onion. And that might be confusing because you might not go to make vegetable juice for a while, and then you'll say, well, I don't remember it having all of these things, and I don't have these things. So I generally don't overwrite a recipe unless I'm swapping one ingredient and I'm going to have access to those ingredients and I'm going to remember that I can swap them out. So generally speaking, that's how you mix stuff together. That's how you make dishes much more improved. And that's basically all that I was able to make. There were some other things that I could have made for this, like I had the ingredients to make some soups and things like that, but that vegetable juice allowed me to add a lot of extras to it. And that I thought was kind of my best chance of succeeding, so I still don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think that that's going to cut it. There's many, many, many more high stamina recovery dishes that I just do not have access to currently at the moment. So after the festival, I'm not going to have much time to do any socializing. I'm going to have to go over to Gannon's. That's sort of my plan afterwards. So I'll just feed my pig while I remember. And then we'll go and bring our dish over to Pierre's. And this is really nice too, because if you needed to get some ingredients for your dish, you would have time to do so. So if you needed to come over to Mushroom Island and pick a mushroom, or you needed to go and milk your cow, or you needed to get some eggs or anything like that, you would have time to do that in between when Pierre tells you what dish to cook and when you actually have to bring it to him. So, and again, I'm gonna do all my fishing off screen, so I'm gonna not take up any more video time with that. I feel like my cooking instructions took a really, really long time, so we're gonna blow through this. So once you present your dish to Pierre, he will do a taste test and judge everybody's dish. This egg soup is rather ordinary. Remembering, of course, that Julia has horrible cooking, so I don't know if I would eat her cooking. This hot milk is wonderful. It's quite relaxing. And Regis made some miso soup. I love miso soup. It's not bad. This is the sort of dish I'd really enjoy when I was hungry. That seems like a really backhanded compliment. That's like, yeah, it's not bad, but I would only eat it if I was starving. Oh well, that's okay. Wow, this is tough, but there can only be one winner. Sorry to keep you waiting. Now for the winner of the cooking festival. With the most delectable dish, the winner is Regis. Oh, hey. Thank you for making such a wonderful dish. Keep up the top-class cooking. Honestly, Pierre, I don't blame you. Now, we got third, which is good. It means that we beat Julia. I would have felt really sad if we didn't, because again, she's known for her absolutely awful cooking. Thanks for participating. Here's your prize. It's wonderful pieces. Alright. So again, not a festival I thought we would win. in the slightest. I wasn't expecting us to really do all that well, but I do think that putting all of the things that I could that were extra into that vegetable juice allowed us to place third rather than fourth. So now that that's over with and I've talked and talked and talked, I'm gonna go talk some more because we're gonna go over to Gannon's now. Because he put in our maker shed for us. And our maker shed is completely empty. I'll go inside of it when we go back into our farm. But after Gannon has created the maker shed for you, you can go to his build menu and scroll down. And we now have the options of various makers. You can see that there are quite a few of them here. We have one for mayonnaise, cheese, yogurt, butter, and yarn. And then finally, we also have a seed maker. Now, instead of taking lumber to create, these take adamantite, and they take 10 pieces of adamantite each, and they, for the most part, all of them with the exception of the seed maker, cost $20,000. The seed maker is $50,000. So when the sprites were here, I came into Gannon's and I wanted to see what a medium enchantment would help us with. And it actually only took away 2 pieces of adamantite from the equation. So rather than costing 10 pieces, it cost us 8. And I don't know that that's really worth it. I think when I go to create these, I'm going to have them cut the cost of the item, because adamantite can be found on floor 10 of the mine, and getting down to floor 10 is absolutely minimal. That takes like no effort whatsoever to find adamantite. They're very, very easy to find. And makers are required if you want to do a 100% run of the game, because every single one of these makers has a sunstone tied to them. I am a little fuzzy on whether or not you need the seed maker for a wonderful. I'll have to look into it and just double check. But I know for sure that you need to create 100 pieces of each material with these makers. So you need to make 100 mayonnaise, 100 pieces of cheese, 100 yogurt, 100 butter, 100 yarn, and so on and so forth in order to get sunstones. So that is why I wanted to get the maker shed in place, because they're very expensive to put into the maker shed. But overall, I think it's worth it. They kind of pay themselves off because you automatically drastically increase the amount that your product is worth. So if you put eggs through the mayonnaise maker, you're making more money just because it's mayonnaise rather than just plain standard eggs. Same with yarn, same with milk, same with cheese. So you can see our maker shed is here on our farm. It's right beside our storage shed for all of our supplies. And we can expand this later on. This is just our starting base level maker shed, you can see, and it's completely empty. So once we start to get makers, we can put them inside there. Gannon will put them in there for us, and we can start creating things with them. And if I go into my cabinet real quick, you can see that I have been saving up my adamantite. I have 33 pieces, so automatically I would be able to create 3 makers if I were able to afford them. And you can also see that I've been putting supplies away on the side. So I've been putting away some of my wool, and when I get my yarn maker, I'm just going to pop all of those into the yarn maker, and I'm going to make yarn right away. I'm going to increase my profits, and I'm also going to get a head start on getting those sunstones. I've kept a lot of eggs and a lot of milk around for cooking and stuff, but if I decide I want to take these and turn them into mayonnaise, I already have a bunch of eggs that are ready to go. So I'm kind of preparing and thinking about that in the future. And as you can see here, we have quite a ways to go until our next festival. We will once again be skipping over the cat festival because once again we do not have a cat. I apologize for that. I do know how to get a cat, I just haven't done the requirement in order to do so as of yet. So I will probably just skip right over this year because we saw it last year and it's not going to be any different if we're not able to compete. Which will bring us to our fishing contest on the 23rd of summer. So I will keep playing, and when I have something to update everybody on, I will be back. And hopefully everything just continues to go really well for me. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope that I will see you next time.